You're listening to PetLifeRadio.com.
Hello! Welcome to the Animal Party. Have you got your party shoes on? Have you got your party animal with you? Are you ready to party on with us today? Because we've got a great guest coming, Melanie Coronetz, and she's going to tell you about schipperkes, but not just about schipperkes, because what kind of a party would it be if we only talked about one dog? No. She's going to tell you about her life change and what happened when she discovered schipperkes and how that worked out for her. And we're also going to talk about New York City a lot, because we're going to be talking about her book, In the Shadow of Mercury. And it's really almost like Sex in the City. New York is a character in the book. It's through it everywhere. It's so part of the story. So it's really interesting for anyone who's ever been to New York or wanted to go to New York or thought about going to New York or wondered what it would be like in such a busy place. This book is really eye-opening. It also covers some topics that are hard for most of us, and including pet grief and some incidents that you just won't believe. So you have to hang on. So we're going to be having Melanie Coronetz join us at this animal party today. But before we do, I wanted to tell you that there's been a good news story. James Deloney, a 7-year-old autistic boy who has no language at all, he can't speak at all, went missing in the snow a few days ago in Nova Scotia, where it was below zero even during the daytime, and he went missing in the evening, and he was gone for 48 hours, all alone in the snow. And people were looking, and searchers were out, and they couldn't find this kid. And in the end, what they thought the kid ran off looking for his dog. That's what they thought. But what really happened, I think, is something completely different, because in the end, when they were all searching and they couldn't get anywhere, and they were starting to really worry about the time and hypothermia, and the kid went out with no coat, the dog came home. And they retraced the tracks back and found the kid. So people were saying, oh, he probably followed the dog ran off, and now the kid's lost. I don't think so. I think the kid ran off, and the dog stayed with him, kept him warm, kept him alive, until the dog had to make a critical decision. And when he heard the searchers so close, he bolted, probably thinking, what do I do? Do I leave the kid? Do I get help? Do I leave the kid? Do I get help? It must have been an agonizing 48 hours for that dog, but he totally did the right thing. And I just want to say, I hope James gets better. I hope things go well for the family. And I hope that dog is enjoying a nice, big, fat steak. Good dog. The dog's name didn't even make the news coverage, so talk about the credits gone wrong on that one. I heard the names of rescuers and searchers and all these people who didn't really find the kid, and no mention of the dog. So, all the volunteer searches and all the policemen couldn't find that kid. It took the family dog to bring the kid back home again. So good on him. All right, so now we're going to go to our show. But before we do, we've got to listen to the messages from our sponsors, and then we'll be back talking to Melanie Coronetz about schipperkes and much more. So stay tuned to the party. Party on, you guys. We'll be back in a second.
Don't go anywhere, because the best is yet to come. Stick around.
This valuable information comes from your pet. There's nothing like a wagging tail or friendly paw to lift your mood. They're therapeutic and make us feel good. Studies show pets even reduce stress, prevent heart disease, lower blood pressure, and fight depression. So there you have it. Pets are a daily dose of good health and happiness. Pets add life. To learn more, visit petsaddlife.org.
It's time for school for you and your friends, your furry best friends. Train your dog the fun and easy way with Teacher's Pet Sessions. Teacher's Pet host Pia Silvani teaches you step-by-step how to train your dog the fun and easy way. You get 8 30-minute live audio training sessions, complete transcripts of each session, plus a basic training manual to get you and your dog off to a great start. Training begins the moment you bring your dog home. Teacher's Pet Sessions offers positive reinforcement training to shape your dog's behavior and encourages upbeat, enthusiastic responses to ensure that your dog will enjoy learning. Teacher's Pet Sessions dog training is fun at both ends of the leash. So listen, learn, and laugh with your dog with Teacher's Pet Sessions. Get your copy of Teacher's Pet Sessions Volume 1 today. To order, go to teacherspetsessions.com.
Hi, this is Pia Silvani, your host. Bring your dog, tug toy, and treats, and get ready to have some fun.
teacherspetsessions.com.
New York, the glitz, the glamour, the exciting Mutt-tropolis, the sparkling kitty city that never sleeps. Join us each week for Pets in the City with your host, Diane West. Celebrity pet sightings, hot events, and news and reviews with the hottest movers, shakers, and tail waggers in New York. So take a bite out of the Big Apple with Pets in the City every week on demand, only on PetLifeRadio.com.
Let's Talk Pets on PetLifeRadio.com.
You're inside the VIP room
with the hottest party in town.
Back to the party.
Let's go!
Hello! Welcome back to the Animal Party. I hope you have your party clothes on, because we're here to party with Melanie Coronetz. Welcome to the show, Melanie.
Hi, thank you. I'm right here, ready to go.
Oh, it's good to have you. Well, I hear you're live from New York, aren't you?
Yeah.
Not many people can say that. So, what's it like living in New York with dogs? I know most people think that would be terrible, that a dog shouldn't be in New York or be in an apartment or be in a crowded city. But it's not like that at all, is it?
No, it isn't, actually. It's like one big dog party. It's amazing, because I have a country house also, and the dogs out there never get to play with other dogs. But here in the city, dogs are on the streets, on leash, of course, and, they sniff each other, they, play with each other. In Central Park, near where I live, they're allowed off the leash in the morning, and you've got 20, 30 dogs running and romping. I mean, it's really fantastic. And they all get along. They have, their favorites that they play with. And then, of course, now that the weather's getting cold, it's also a fashion show, because a lot of the small
the outfits.
They wear amazing little outfits. Their mommies dress them up.
But your schipperkes, I mean, they've got huge, beautiful fur. You don't dress them up, do you?
No, actually, one I don't, but the other one, I think, I adopted him, and I think he came from a puppy mill, because he's very skinny, and he doesn't have an undercoat. So I bought him a down coat with a leopard print. So when he goes out, he looks like this puffy leopard.
You think he's fooling them? You think they think he's a feline? I don't think so.
I don't know.
He's not fooling anybody. So schipperkes. A lot of people have never seen a schipperke. When I think of them visually, and it's not their descendants or anything, but visually they look like the black wolf from Little Red Riding Hood from the old-fashioned story if you shrunk it down and made it the size of between a toy and a mini poodle. Little tiny dog, but it looks like a black wolf. The only big difference is it kind of has a generous rear end, I would say. So is that how a schipperke looks? Is that how it's supposed to look?
They don't have, at least in the U.S., we can still dock their tails. So you have this amazing looking dog with this incredible silhouette without a tail. And they actually look like they slope back from the head down to the rear end. Now, in Europe, they've caved to the animal rights people, and, well, I don't know how you feel about tail docking, but anyway, let me just ramble on a second here. So schipperkes were never bred for tail sets. So you have some schipperkes whose tails curl over their backs like Shiba Inus, and then you have others.
Those are the ones I see here.
Yeah,
because here it's very uncommon to dock a schipperke, and so they sort of almost like a husky. It's a spindly little tail. It's not a big, heavy tail like a husky, but it does bend right back over the back, just like what you just said.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and others, though, hang down like a Labrador. They have these. So I don't know what's going to happen.
That bothers you? That ruins the look of the dog for you, doesn't it?
It does, but, it's the same dog underneath all of that, so,
And I think you'll get used to it if you have to. You'll get used to it.
I think.
There is a move on, and one of the provinces in Canada, I'm not sure, it's not all through Canada, but one of the provinces in Canada, the veterinarians have decided against docking, cropping, declawing, all the elective surgeries that they've view as cosmetic. And so they basically said that if you want to practice veterinary medicine in that province and be licensed and insured, you cannot perform those procedures. So what's happening is the show people are driving their dogs, south to the U.S. or over to the next province and getting it done. But it is having an effect on the people who aren't showing. And so there's less and less and less. And to my mind, it's good in the way that it's affecting declawing, because that's a huge thing. People think of declawing as a manicure, and it's an amputation of knuckles and toes. And most of the time, when a cat is declawed because it's doing damage, it gets worse after it's declawed. So it's really not a good answer. And if you give it away when it's still got its claws, it has many options. If you declaw it, it's not going to have many options. And you get litter box problems and all kinds of things. So for me, I'm glad they went that way. I'm hoping other provinces will too. And I don't mind the look of my breed standard poodle with a long tail, or even a big old Rottie with a big tail like they have them in Europe. I'm okay with it. I get used to it. But I must admit, at first it's jarring, but it's because of what we're used to. But I see your point in that the dogs who do have long tails have been bred to have tails that suit them and are efficient and healthy for them. And these breeds that were bred to be cropped, they don't really pay attention to that. So you don't know what you're going to get. You could get a health problem that needs to be docked later, or you could get one that sits nicely. You don't really know. I understand what you're saying about that. But then again, if we go back to not docking them, we'll all pay attention, and before long, that'll be corrected. So we'll have good-looking dogs with good-looking tails. So
you get used to anything, You get used to anything.
Yeah, for sure. Like maybe the bulldog people in England will get used to dogs whose heads aren't so mismatched to the pelvis that they can actually have them naturally without C-section. They have puppies. I hope so. And then I hope that spreads everywhere. But let's talk about the schipperke, because in your email at one point you said, now I'm addicted to the schipperke for all their quirks and challenges. Okay, so what are their quirks and challenges?
Okay, well, these are very independent-minded dogs, and they have their own agenda. For example, my veteran bitch that I have, Marlena, she's 12 years old, and she will come up and just, paw at me to get her belly rubbed. And I would tell her I'm busy. And she only does this when I tell her I'm busy. It's like perverse. It's the opposite. And other times when, she's there and I want to pet her, I'll go over and I'll start petting her and she'll get up and walk away.
On her terms. That's almost like a cat.
They're very funny. Then, when people come to work in the apartment sometimes, like the cleaning lady, Marlena will follow her around, just follow her and, get underfoot. And the poor woman says, you got to get this dog out of the way. But, the schipperke wants to see. They're very curious about everything that's going on around them. And they want to make sure that everything is in order. So they will follow people in your house. I mean, if you have guests, the schipperke will come and sniff them up and down and then probably walk away and not want anything more to do with them. But first, they have to sniff them and make sure that they're not a threat to the household.
Well, that's their herding ancestry. I knew a schipperke who lived with 11 cats. Okay, 11. In a house, just a normal house, normal people, but somehow or other they'd ended up with 11 cats and one dog. And when I first met this dog, it had very peculiar behaviors. It adopted cat behaviors. It would rub against you and wind around your legs and twirl between you. All this cat stuff. It was basically a cat. And it had a cat friend that it wrestled and rolled with, and other cats it interacted differently with. But when I first started working with them, my assignment was to teach it to interact with dogs. It was terrified of dogs. It had not realized what it was, and by the end, it was perky and happy and loved to be with dogs. But really interesting, that they're that aware of their environment that they would learn from who's around them.
Yeah, actually, though, the one I had before this was very cat-like. She would, stretch and lick her legs like a cat, and she even made funny little noises like a cat. And we don't have any cats, so where'd she get that from?
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
Well, it surprised me when you told me that they were on boats, and then also that their lineage, that a larger version was a herding dog. So that kind of surprised me. But you do see both, caring what's going on and caring who comes. That's very herd-like, And the boat thing, I guess that's, not getting too involved, right? You're passing through all the time. It makes sense. I mean, a dog who was super needy and into strangers would be jumping off the boat and diving into the water and going onto the dock and being a pain in the butt everywhere you went. So I can see that.
There were also rat catchers on those boats, and they're, very good rat catchers, because if you see the canines on a schipperke, I mean, they are huge.
And we're talking about a little dog. A dog you can easily pick up in your arms and hug. You might even be able to carry two if you're a big person. They're not very big. Okay, so rat catchers, that brings me to my trivia question. Okay, you guys, try and think about this. How many descendants can one mama rat make in a year? Is it 100? Is it 1,000? What do you think? How many? It could be more. I'm just giving you some ideas. It's a lot. It's shockingly large number. And I'll tell you at the end of the party. So that's our party quiz, our little teaser for today. How many descendants can one mama rat have in 1 year? It's unbelievable. And so maybe we should all be getting schipperkes if we live in the city. I guess you don't have a mouse problem in your house, huh?
Oh, no. Well, you wouldn't really want to have any dog put its teeth on the rats we have here, because they're huge, and who knows what kind of horrible diseases they have. But, I see a lot of rats in the subways. I mean, you see them scurrying across the tracks, and they always seem to know when to get out of the way of the train.
Well, here in the country, we do have mice and rats and rodents and all that stuff, and they try and move in the fall. And I discovered very quickly when I first moved here, I think in 1997, I came with my 2 city cats who were completely overwhelmed. They were delighted, and they got fat very quick, but they were completely overwhelmed. So then I went to the rescue home, and I got more, and I got more. And I figured out that I need 5 cats to have no mice, none, 0, to not have to, be the kind of person who has to kind of ziplock everything and tidy everything and always have everything closed and contained in metal. Okay, I don't have to do that if I have 5 cats, but I can't ever go below 5. It's this ratio.
It's a magic number.
Part of it's their smell. Their scent everywhere. They're a big deterrent. But they catch everyone who strays in here. And so you just don't get the community happening. But I do see the big ones you're talking about down at our river. We have a river going through our property, and those are big river rats. I've seen Springer Spaniel bring one down. I've seen Labs go for it and catch them. Jack Russells, definitely. And the world record holder back in the 1880s, because this used to be a sport in England, the world record holder was a Jack Russell, and he did, I think it was 85 rats in 30 minutes. Like some incredible number where you just think, oh man, how's that even possible?
But he must dog.
He was pumped. He was pumped. He was going for it. Okay, so let's get back to your book. When I look at the back of your book, I see you've got 2 little schipperkes and then this big dog, big old, good old dog, good old boy kind of dog or girl. Looks like a mutt who found you, for sure. Looks twice, forgive me for this, but in this picture, she looks twice as aware and worried as your other 2. She looks twice as on the ball, really. She looks so bright and so clearly engaged and aware of your safety. And the other 2 dogs, she's taking care of all 3 of you. One of them looks like it's having a great goofy day and is just happy to sit with you anywhere. And the other one looks like it's had enough and it would like to go home. So how close is that?
Right on. Well, the big girl is, her name is Zora. And, we took her in. Her owner had died, and I tried to find a new home for her because I didn't particularly want to have 3 dogs in the city, and nobody wanted her. So the 2 skippies I had before the ones I have now, I had them all out at my summer house, and I said to my husband, if they accept her by the end of the summer, we'll keep her. And he kind of grumbled, but he fell in love with her, and she fell in love with him, and it's amazing. This dog is so smart. She just knows things. And you don't even have to train her. It's like she was a trained dog in some other life, and all of a sudden she came back, in this new life, all trained. She's an amazing dog.
I think sometimes the dogs who need you, like they really know what it's like to be without food, to be without love, to be without a family. When they find a new family, they are so dedicated. They work really hard. They pay attention all the time. I had this rescue dog. He was a Rottie Cross, and I tried to teach him to just take a break, like just stop. He was constantly looking in my eyes, waiting for the next command, waiting for the next. So I taught him this command, take a break. So what he would do is he would, like a football player, he would run away 20 feet, turn around and face me again. That's as close as I could get to getting him to just relax. He was so intense about pleasing me all the time, And years later, he mellowed out. But they treat, for anyone out there who is thinking about adopting a mutt or rescuing a dog, when you get a dog secondhand, they love you forever, and they love you so big, and they take care of you like a dog you get as a puppy just won't, because they think you're going to take care of them. So I really, really recommend it. If you can rescue a dog, you'll get back more than you give in spades. Definitely.
Oh, it's so true. And Zora actually has learned from Marlena. Marlena likes to lie on her back and get her belly scratched, and Zora never used to do that when we first got her. But now she's acting like a schipperke. She'll go up on the bed and she'll roll over, and it's really quite cute. She learned it from them, just like, your dog.
The other one, learned the cats.
Learned from the cats.
That was Kaylee McCready that learned from those cats, just to say her name, because she's long past now, but what a wonderful little schipperke she was. So when we come back, we're going to go to commercials just for a minute. We're going to leave the party, but don't you worry. I'm going to get Melanie a drink and get her schipperkes. Oh, what should I get them? Should I get them a squeaky toy or a tennis ball, or what would make their day brighter?
A treat.
Okay, well, we'll get them a treat, and I hope it doesn't go to their hips. We'll talk about that when we get back. All right, everybody, come back to the party.
Don't leave this party before it's over, because the best is yet to come. Only losers leave the party early anyway. Party on. Back in a few.
Give your dog some thought with Dog Thoughts. It's the iPhone application that everyone's talking about.
Hey, what do you think of this? A man in Davis, California says he's invented an application for the iPhone that claims it can read your dog's mind. Huh? No, it's true. Now, I read about it on my cat's Twitter page. That's why
Jay Leno talked about it, CBS reported on it, and now you can see what all the buzz is about. Created just for dog lovers, Dog Thoughts makes taking photos of your furry best friend more fun. Shake your dog and read his mind. On your iPhone, of course. Take a pic of your pup, shake your phone, and watch as his thoughts appear on the screen. Does he have a bone to pick with you, or is he having a tail-wagging day? Get your Dog Thoughts iPhone app today. Just 99 cents. Go to PetLifeRadioPromotions.com. That's PetLifeRadioPromotions.com.
Greetings, humans. What planet am I on?
Welcome to Pet Planet. Here's a copy of Pet Planet Magazine, Florida's most informative and fun pet resource magazine. It features heartwarming stories and informative articles from local and national pet experts.
Excellent.
Pet Planet Magazine offers Operation Planet Rescue, helping rescued pets find new homes. And it's available at 500 locations in South and Central Florida and 24/7 on the internet at PetPlanetMagazine.com. If you're out and about with your pet, you may be featured in Paparazzi, candid pictures of you and your pet. For up-to-date pet-friendly events, activities, and pet-related services and products, Pet Planet Magazine is your final destination.
I shall take this magazine home with me.
Back to your home planet?
No, to my condo in Boca.
Pet Planet Magazine. Check them out at www.petplanetmagazine.com or 352-394-8578. It's out of this world.
Coast to coast and around the world, it's Oh Behave with Arden Moore. Find out why cats and dogs do the things they do and get the latest buzz from wagging tongues and tails in Rin Tin Tinseltown. From famous pet experts and best-selling authors to television and movie stars, you'll get great tail-wagging pet tips and have a fur-flying fun time. Oh Behave with America's pet edutainer, Arden Moore. Every week on demand. This is the place for a special paparazzi treat. Only on PetLifeRadio.com.
Let's talk pets.
Let's talk pets
On Pet Life Radio.
Pet Life Radio.
PetLifeRadio.com.
You're inside the VIP room.
With the hottest party in town.
Back to the party.
Let's go.
Hello, you're back at the Animal Party, and it's Deborah Wolf talking to Melanie Coronetz. We're talking about her book, In the Shadow of Mercury, a memoir of midlife and dogs. And before I went to the hors d'oeuvre table and stocked up my drink, I was saying that rats make an unbelievable amount of babies. So how many babies do you think, how many descendants can a rat mama make in 1 year? I'll tell you at the end of the party. All right. Well, thanks for those sponsors. They're great sponsors. It's been good hearing from them. And we're back at the party, and we've got Melanie. And I want to know, Melanie, how you fell in love with the schipperkes and how you came to meet Mercury. And I know there's a connection to midlife there. So please tell us how this all happened for you.
Okay, are you ready? You tell me when we're ready.
We're ready.
We're ready. Okay. I was going through my midlife crisis. I had varied careers. I started out as a teacher. I ended up in advertising, and I wasn't much good at any of this. And so I just didn't know what to do. And I thought, you know what? I'm going to do something crazy and dangerous. I'm going to become a bicycle messenger in New York.
In New York City.
Yeah.
Okay.
And my husband.
How old were you? This is like in your 40s?
I was around my late 40s, yeah. And, I pictured myself zooming through the city, bike messenger Melanie. And, it was an insane idea. And at the same time, we were thinking about getting a dog because we really kind of needed something. Things were okay, but they weren't that great between us. And, he had a really good career, and I was sort of, bumbling around. So messenger was the ticket for me until I saw a replay of the Westminster Kennel Club Dog Show, and I saw these little black dogs that I never even knew existed. They were schipperkes. And I said to him, well, maybe we should look into this. And we did. And I went down to AKC. I found out about schipperkes, and it was like fate. 2 weeks later, in the New York Times, there was an ad for a schipperke puppies just about an hour's drive from here. So we went up there, and we met the breeder, and this was homebred dogs, and they were all, just beautiful little puppies. And we took one, we bought one, and I decided to name him Mercury because at that point...
He's the messenger.
Yeah, he was my messenger. He saved me from becoming a messenger and probably, from getting hit by a bus because, what kind of 48-year-old woman would be riding around on a messenger route in New York City? So, I started training him, and, we loved him so. He was just such a cute little guy. And someone suggested that I show him, and I didn't know anything about shows or dog shows. I didn't, except that I knew about Westminster. So I started to take him to some local shows, and I'll never forget this one judge. I guess I wasn't a very good handler. This one judge told me that I should take handling classes before I ever set foot in his ring again, and I was
So the dog was better than the human, and it is a team. Sometimes people don't realize it's a team, and a lot of those people in the ring are not owners. They're actually professional handlers who do this for a living and will show several dogs at one show, travel with them, and get paid to do it. Yeah. So you were competing against professionals, and you had no idea that was the case, I bet, till you got there and you saw how serious everyone was.
Yeah, so I quickly hired a handler, and Mercury was then shown to his championship. And,
nice.
I decided I was going to show him. If we could get into the garden, I wanted to show him myself, just for the experience. But it wasn't to be, because unfortunately that winter, right before Westminster, he was staying with my brother-in-law out in New Jersey, and he got out of the yard, was hit by a car. And so
I hear this a lot. When people go away, sometimes the people they're leaving their dog with don't have a dog, so they don't think about the fact that the gardener comes and goes and leaves gates open, or the cleaning lady comes through the back door, or that are not even aware of all the things that could happen that could let the dog escape. Or sometimes they do have a dog who's used to their system. Maybe they have invisible fencing or something. But it takes a time to teach a dog this. And when you're away and you leave your dog, sometimes they think they should go looking for you. So they have motive to escape. Plus, as you've said, schipperkes, if they see something like a bunny, a deer, they're going to want to escape. They're going to want to hunt it. They're going to want to chase it. So it had motive. But it's just so sad, if you send it to a kennel where there's latches and locks and fail-safes, and they're out with the dogs, and they're trained to deal with dogs, and it's a lot of times safer than relying on friends and family who mean well and feel terrible when something goes wrong.
Oh, yeah. You're so right about that. Yeah, so Mercury...
But you know what? I know, since we're on this now, because it's too hard to get to later... Last time you and I were on the show, my son was home from school sick, and I didn't know, but he was listening on the other side of the door while we were talking. And when you and I finished the show, he was crying, and he gave me a hug, and he said, "That was so sad, Mom." And what he was talking about was when you explained to me what happened to your two schipperkes on a leash with you in Central Park. And I want to talk to people about this, because if you've got a dog and you think it's funny, it's a big dog and it wants to kill little dogs or wants to chase little dogs, or you call little dogs ankle biters, and this is so amusing to you, you're creating a huge problem. And your dog might be put down for this problem. This is not funny. It's not cute. It's not amusing. Your dog should understand that all dogs are the same species, and it should not pick fights with them. It should not treat them as prey. So if you've got a dog like this, you need to talk to a professional trainer. You need to get a muzzle and a leash, and you need to take your dogs to the little dogs and teach it to live with them, live and let live, get along, heel, come, sit, stay, regardless of whether there's a little dog running and fetching nearby or on a leash nearby. Get it to understand that little dogs are part of its world, and that you won't be part of this problem. So let's talk about it a little bit. As much as I don't want to, I think we should.
Yeah, this was a horrible night for me, Deborah. This took place 5 years ago, and I had taken the two schipperkes and Zora. These were my Monkey and Argo. These were the ones I had before the two that I have now. And we went up on this path across from our apartment, right in Central Park, where I'd walked the dogs for 10 years without any problem. It was about maybe 9:30 at night, and we're on our way back, and all of a sudden, and the two little skippies were on flexi leads, the extendable leads, and they were about 16 feet out in front of me, and all of a sudden I hear a growl and a yip and another growl, and I run up and close up on those leads, and I see this Rottweiler, this big muscular Rottweiler standing there, and he had bitten both my dogs, but so powerful that he got my little female Monkey, and he got her in the stomach, and she was just bleeding, and I didn't see my other dog, and I started beating this Rottweiler, punching him in the stomach with the handle, the plastic handle of the flexi leads, and it just stood there. The dog just stood there, and then a man appeared out of the darkness, and he said, "Miss, you shouldn't hit that dog. He might turn on you." And I said, "Well, is this your dog?" And he said, "No." And then he disappeared into the night, and I know that was his dog. I mean, because nobody else was around, and this dog had a collar. And in fact, the police came because people heard me screaming, and I grabbed my little Monkey and rushed her to the emergency vet. And my husband came into the park, and he found my other Skippy, who was alive, and rushed him to the emergency vet. But Monkey died in my arms in the taxi, and Argo, my male, when they got to the emergency vet, the vet said that he had so much internal bleeding that they really didn't think they could save him. So they had given him a sedative, and I said, "Well, don't wake him up." And so we took the two of them out to our country house the next day, and we buried them out there. And
when you talk about that compression, that's the factor here. When a Rottweiler bites, when a big square-headed dog bites, I've seen the effect on humans, because when I go to train one who's bitten its owner or bitten its owner's friend or the nanny or something like that, they'll often roll up their sleeve and show me the bruises. And when a dog like that bites somebody's forearm, like the biggest muscly part of a human arm, so much stronger than a little toy dog, right? Like a huge, it's even on a man.
There's so much pressure in those jaws.
That's right. It looks like it's been run over by a steamroller. It's just crushed. The bruising is unbelievable. In one case, there was a guy with a tattoo, and you couldn't even see the tattoo anymore. Like, it just completely bruised. So I hear what you're saying. If you've got big, strong dogs, they really need to be socialized with everything. They just do. It's part of your obligation in owning them, and it's for their own good. This one ended up dead. This Rottweiler, he didn't benefit by having a thing about thinking of toys as prey. Didn't suit him at all. It ended up killing him. So he could have run across a road to get to them. There's a lot of things that can happen to a dog who thinks little dogs are chaseable. A lot of bad things. So you definitely want to train that out of them. So you came back from this, though. I mean, some people would have this happen, and they would never own a dog again, certainly not another little dog, but you did.
We couldn't stand the quiet in the house. We had Zora. That night of the Rottweiler, she ran home, right across the street. Thank heavens there were no cars coming. And she was traumatized for many days because I think when I was beating the Rottweiler, she might have thought I was hitting the schipperke. And she was very strange for quite a while, but then, she came back and with her old
No,
self.
I don't think that was the case. I think probably it took her a while to feel safe again.
Mm-hmm.
Even though you were there, she wasn't safe. So she lost some trust and was really out of sorts and missing him and all that kind of stuff. But I don't think she would have thought it was you hitting him or anything like that.
Oh, I'm glad to hear that.
No, that's really remote.
Yeah.
The one time where I actually think a dog did think its owner was hitting him was this dog, Rosie, a black lab cross, and she was being attacked by hornets.
Ooh.
And I was there. I was in the park, and I saw this woman struggling with this dog, and the dog had obviously gone for the nest. I mean, clearly. But now the nest was going for the dog. And so this black dog was just covered in yellow jackets. And so she said, I don't know what to do. I don't know what to do. I don't want my kids to get stuck. And I said, let's grab her and stick her in the river. There was this beautiful river right there. So we put her in the river. So if this dog loved water, that wasn't a problem. But they were still stinging her. So then we started smacking them to kill them with our hands. And I think she thought we were hitting her.
Yeah,
she was crying. Look at us like, please stop, please stop. And the stings, but she never became hand shy or head shy. I mean, maybe underneath it all, she knew we were helping her. But it has to be that confusing. Otherwise, they know you. They know you're not doing wrong like that. And the fear in the other dog and the smell of the attacker. I mean, she knew you were fighting for them. This is very primitive for dogs. They understand stuff like this better than we do. Like they know when we're pregnant before we do. They know when we're stressed out before we do. They know this stuff. This stuff isn't a problem for them. They know who's the most dominant, aggressive, angry person. It wasn't you. It was that other dog. She knew who the dominant attacker was and who the defense was. It's really clear for dogs. So I wouldn't spend any time worrying about that. But how did you, so you wanted another dog. My instinct would be go big, right? Never have the problem again. If I just got huge dogs, let that Rottweiler attack my Dogo Argentino. But you didn't. You went again.
No, we love the schipperkes. We just love them. And these two we raised from puppies. One was 10 years old. The other was 11 when they got killed. And, they're just such funny little dogs. I went online and I put out a call to the members of the Schipperke Club, and I asked if anyone had an older, mellow schipperke that they wanted to sell or give away, because I just couldn't deal with a puppy at that time. And so this breeder in Colorado had this 8-year-old retired champion, Marlena, and we struck a deal, and she put Marlena on a plane, and I went to Newark Airport and picked her up, and I looked in this crate, and there were these little black eyes and this furry face, and
Did you start crying?
No.
Did you cheer up? You didn't? Oh, I would have.
Yeah, I brought her home, and I had told Zora that she was going to have a friend. And so Zora came, the two girls sniffed each other, and, they got along fine. It was just so beautiful. I didn't have to do anything like, taking them to neutral territory or anything like that.
Well, you know what? Sometimes getting a dog from a breeder is a great idea. If you like a breed, but you realize that you're not up to training it or dealing with the puppy years or even the most hyper years of this dog's life, you'd like a little bit older dog. Breeders sometimes stop breeding a dog for whatever reason. Maybe the puppies it throws are too light or too dark or not enough of them or something. Something goes out of fashion, some reason. Maybe she doesn't get pregnant easily or has a hard time having puppies or something that doesn't affect you and your pet needs at all. But you end up with this dog who's been completely trained, socialized, taken to all these shows and events, and is out and understands people, kids, dogs, totally cool with everything. But maybe it was a little bit needy because it had to compete with 5 others or 6 others and travel a lot and be without the owner. Now it gets its true person. And so you almost get the same effect as if you rescue a dog, except you don't get all the training problems. So that's a great idea for people out there. If you're ever interested in a secondhand dog, ask around with the breeders, because sometimes they have some great dogs available. And I bet you found she was really delightful.
Oh, yeah. And then, interestingly, a few months later in the fall, people in Central Park, there's an organization called PAWS, P-A-W-S, and they knew what had happened. And a woman contacted them saying that she needed to find a home for her schipperke because she was moving to L.A. in a job where there'd be a lot of travel, and she didn't want him to be bounced around to kennels and things like that.
Right.
So they called me up and they said, we heard about your dogs. Would you be interested in a schipperke? And I said, well, I already got another one, but, we were 3 before. We can be 3 again. So, yeah, I walked across the park. I met the woman, and she turned over Mozart to me.
Oh, nice.
And, she walked away. I could see she was crying. She was, her shoulders were heaving. Mozart looked at her. I picked him up. I carried him into the park. He saw a squirrel, and he never looked back.
Dogs are in the moment. Some dogs mourn and some dogs grieve, especially if they think something, someone dies or an animal they love dies. They definitely mourn and grieve. But they are in the moment. They will make the best of their new family, their new situation, if it's possible, if it's a good place for them. So when I was reading your email, at one point it says about your husband, to this day, the dogs don't listen to him. And that kind of made me laugh because I've had that situation many, many times here with my husband. And also previously, when I first trained with dogs, one of the places I worked at, they bred standard poodles and they bred Dobermans. And it was a husband and wife team, and one liked the one dog and one liked the other dog. But no matter how hard they tried, the standard poodles just wouldn't listen to that woman. And they were hers. The Dobermans did. And no matter how hard he tried, the Dobermans would not listen to him, but the standard poodles did. So they used to show each other's dogs in the ring and stuff like that. They had to switch because otherwise they just didn't get the same results. It was so funny. But I got it as soon as I met them. I mean, she was so dopey and he was so poodle. She was so clear and direct and loud and dominant and always, always, always on. And he was so relaxed and subtle and easygoing and, giving the dogs the benefit of the doubt and all this stuff that dobies are going to take advantage of, And poodles, they get tired of being told what to do when it's obvious. They tune you out if you're always nattering at them when they know what to do. So it's so interesting how different breeds work with different people. So I'm wondering, did your husband have any better luck with your pit bull that you adopted or your mutt that you had or any of these non-schipperkes?
No, because, he's not really into training. He talks to them like they're humans, and a lot of people do. I mean, I do that too. But if I want certain behaviors from them, I make sure I get it, and then when they do it, I give them a treat. So I'm very consistent always. They know what to expect from me. Whereas he sometimes whines at them, like saying, "Oh, come on, come with me." If they're going to the park and one of them wants to go back, and he just doesn't. He loves them, and they love him, but they know that he's that they can take advantage. They don't want to listen to him. I guess I'm the alpha. I'm the pack leader because I do most of the stuff. I'm the one that takes them to the vet, and I take the.
Well, and as you said, you're an ex-school teacher, and a lot of it works the same. It's direct, stage it, make it happen, reward it. Stage it, make it happen, reward it, till the kid or the dog has good habits and likes it. I don't use treats. I don't think as often as you do, and I don't use them with every dog. Sometimes I'll use balls if the dog will work for balls, or affection, or but I always make it worth his while. If he listens to me, he's going to get a good tummy rub or a ball thrown up in the air, or maybe a treat if he's really stubborn, and that's all that will work. But it'll be a small treat, and he might get it for every trick when we first meet, but before long it'll be every other, and then every third, and then every fourth. So he's really working. I treat the food rewards sort of like a preschool teacher or a kindergarten teacher, grade school teacher would use stickers. If the kid is an A student and he hands me in a C paper, I'm not a coloring job or whatever, art project, I'm not going to give him a sticker. He's doing way worse than he should. But if he's a C student, he gives me an A piece of work. Well, yeah. Or if that's how you do it. If the dog comes when there's garbage on the ground that he wants to eat or a squirrel he wants to chase, gets a sticker, So it's kind of like that. But I know we talked about this before. For anyone out there who's feeling the horrible loss, you're coming home to your house and there's no dog to greet you, and there's no sound of the dog drinking in the water, and you're dogless, maybe for the first time ever. There's a great site called rainbowsbridge.com that is all about a heaven where you'll get to see your pets again. But I do want to say, at some point, if you're the kind of person who really, really did well with a dog, loved that dog and got love back from that dog and was a good owner to that dog, and that dog was a good dog to you, then you can have that again with another dog. It won't be the same. You could go with a completely different breed or a different color or a different gender. If you don't want to be constantly reminded if that's too tough for you. But there's a dog out there somewhere just as wonderful as your dog. Not the same, but just as wonderful and just as deserving. And you deserve to have that. And your dog, if it could choose for you, it would want you to have that. It would not want you to be dogless. It would want you to be protected. It would want someone barking in your house when a stranger is threatening you. It would not want you to be dogless. Okay, what do you think about that?
Yeah, I think it's very important that people that are so devastated when they lose their pets. I can understand that because I've had a lot of heartache with my schipperkes, but I can't be without a dog. And, they bring so much to your home. Just the fact to have something alive that you can look into those eyes and, tell them your troubles or tell them when you're happy. I mean, I can't be without a dog. And as I get older, and, schipperkes have a pretty long lifespan. They go anywhere from 12 to 16 years old.
15, yeah.
And as I get older, I'm just going to always get older schipperkes so that I don't outlive them. I'll get a 6 or 7 year old, and then keep them till they're ready to go cross the Rainbow Bridge.
That sounds great.
Yeah.
I think that's really sensible. And you don't have to be without a dog just because you're older. There's a lot of places in the world that are really sensible about this. You can get a dog prescribed by your doctor. And all you have to do is be over 65 in England. And they'll prescribe one. And then you're allowed to, you don't have to submit to the rules of the rental board or any of that. You're allowed to have a dog. Stuff it, you can say to everybody in your best UK accent. And they'll even pay part of your vet bills and your food and all this stuff because they figured out that if you own a dog when you're older, you see the doctor less. You get sick less. If you own a dog after a heart attack, you're 8 times more likely to be alive a year later. It's got nothing to do with walking it either, because the cat statistics are almost the same. So we really need animals. We need them in our lives, and I think they keep our stress levels down for a reason. They really are watching our back. If your dog's sleeping on the couch, you know nobody's breaking in. You just know it, consciously and unconsciously. So I think they give us a huge amount, but also just day to day. You must get up to feed it. You must get up to brush it. You must get up to walk it. You're in the moment. You're not talking about last year or 10 years ago. And I think it helps with kids too. When your grandkids visit, when people divorce and kids are going from home to home to home, if there's animals there, it makes it so much better.
Oh, you're absolutely right. I mean, it's so true. So true. I mean, I see a lot of old people in the park, they're even on canes, and they have like a little Chihuahua or a little Havanese, and, they sit on the bench and they watch the world go by, and they have their dog, they cuddle their dog, and it's beautiful to see. Because, they're not alone.
Oh, you know what? They did this study in England, another one like this, where they dressed this woman up terribly. And they had her walk around and try and meet people. And she was an elderly lady, and nobody would talk to her. And they counted, how many times and this and that. And then they put her with a dog. Mm-hmm. And then they dressed her up nice and did the same tests. And they found that with a dog, it didn't matter what she was wearing. And with a dog, no matter what she was wearing, she met 10 to 15 more people per day than without. Mm-hmm. And without, it was like 1 or 2 a day if she was lucky and they wanted to get away from her. Like, people were just not willing to talk with her. But when she had a dog, everyone was willing to talk with her. So it really, really opens up barriers, I think.
Oh, so, yeah. And if you have a schipperke, it opens up even more because you don't see too many of them.
Excuse me, what kind of dog is that?
Exactly.
Wow. Yeah, I like to call them the dog with the J-Lo bum because it really is a trait that they're kind of narrow at the front and almost like Bouvier's, wider at the back, and
well, no,
it's very
actually,
cute.
No, they're wider.
They're not supposed to be?
No, they're wider.
Oh, so the ones I'm seeing are not what they should be.
Yeah, they have these huge ruffs. They have a big ruff
well,
around
the fur,
neck.
Yeah, they got a huge furry neck.
And then they sort of taper down toward the back. And the front feet are bigger than the back feet.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
All right. So Kaylee must have been eating too much cat food.
Oh, maybe.
So, in the shadow of Mercury, where can they get your book?
Okay, you can get it through Amazon.com or BarnesandNoble.com. You can go to the website, shadowofmercury.com, and order it directly from the publisher, xlibris.com. That's the letter X, LIBRIS.com. And,
you know what? I think we'll set it up so they can just hit on it right here. Mm-hmm. We'll make it that way. So, In the Shadow of Mercury, who should get this book?
Well, I think anyone who, first of all, anyone who loves dogs, women who want to know what it's like to have a midlife crisis and not know where you're going and then get saved by this little black dog or any pet for that matter. People that are curious about New York and the New York lifestyle with dogs, and people that just want a good yarn that happens to be true. I mean, it's a roller coaster ride of a book because so many things that happened to me with dogs, and not just my schipperkes, but, this pit bull that my friend rescued, and then Marlena, the Skippy I have now, took off on me one night. She was gone for 3 days. She ran across the avenues, and, she turned up in the home of a retired nun. So talk about miracles. I mean, you couldn't make stuff up.
I think sometimes dogs operate on a whole nother level, and I think sometimes they do find the people they need when they need them. It's amazing how many times there's these stories of unbelievable, not just reunited with family, but things where the dog comes to the person right when they need the most, and what kind of dog, the dog they just mentioned, and all this sort of stuff. It's interesting how the dogs we exactly need find us, like that second schipperke in the park, and the woman hearing about you. And I mean, this stuff just happens. I think there's some kind of dog angel out there making it all work. I'm not sure how.
Yeah, I think it's true. It's true.
So we have to wrap up the party, everybody. I'm sorry to tell you, party's over. Don't forget to get your coats and your clothes and pick up your animals, of course. We don't want to be partying with them without you. Take your animals home now. Run off that junk food. So it's been great having you, Melanie. Thank you for joining us on Animal Party. Okay, well, for anyone listening, I'll tell you, too, since you live in New York City, it matters to you. Every rat can actually have 15,000 descendants in 1 year. So get a cat, get a schipperke, and watch what you do. You don't want rats around your home. 15,000 in 1 year. Okay, everybody, come back to the party next week, and I'll party with you and your animals. Be good to your animals.
Let's Talk Pets, every week on demand, only on PetLifeRadio.com.